Bingo. Perfect. All right, cool. So here we are. What's up, everybody? Glenn's here from the collective. He is a very, very hard man to get a hold of, but we got his ass now and he's stuck. So
Yeah,
welcome
what's up?
in, man. What's going on? So, Glenn, tell us who you are.
So, my name's Glenn, but can be hard to get a hold of sometimes. Just work, the group, life. You got a 3-year-old, got a wife, family stuff, all that good stuff. But yeah, no, I basically the collective buy, sell, trade. Very long name, just basically saying that we deal with cards. I run the group, started the group, and that's where we are today. That's who I am.
Right on. So yeah, the collective is a phenomenal group. Like kudos on it, and there's a lot I want to get into about it.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
been a fun ride.
it's phenomenal. So what inspired you to create a Facebook group around sports cards?
Shit, honestly, well, when I got back in, as a kid, always collected. Grandpa would go to garage sales, pick up boxes of cards for me. I'd get like some complete sets and all for Christmas, just stuff like that. Primarily sports. Well, then I started getting it. Honestly, I got into like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon, and that's where it was for a while. I was really big with Yu-Gi-Oh, and I kind of just got away from it, just with school. I ended up playing, rugby in high school, so that took up a lot of my time. I was working full time in high school, even though they called it part time. You work at 38 hours. I'm fucking full time. you
For
know, like
sure.
so it's like I just kind of got away from everything, and I've just always been a huge football fan, a huge Saints fan. Had season tickets for 20 years now. So it's just the sports aspect, obviously, like just kind of pulled me back in. COVID came, everyone, there was nothing to do, and I don't even remember what group I saw first. I don't remember how I even got pulled back in. But actually, it was that big football group that got shut down. And I randomly stumbled upon it, got in there, and I didn't like it was just a learning curve from, when you were a kid. Everything's new, and you're like, oh shit, this is like a casino. Rich says it all the time. Like the hobby is a casino, especially these Facebook groups. You're playing in lines and breaks. Like it was all new. So like I just kind of learned, trial by error. Basically drinking from a fire hose right when I got in there. Everybody's selling you their base cards and their little patch cards for 10, 20, $25. I still think it's funny. I go back to one of the first deals I ever made, and some dude just straight ripped me off. It was a what was the is it Chronicles that has like the MVP insert, and it was a Drew Brees MVP insert. It's Chronicles. I hold on to it till this day. I don't know where, somewhere on one of my walls. Yeah, it's kind of just like one of those things where it's like motivation just to be better and to continue learning, because we all start somewhere. So yeah, I bought like a Drew Brees MVP for like $25, and it was literally like a 50-cent card. Like it would have came PWE. It may not even have sold on eBay. Like it was that kind of card, and I just
Nah,
thought it was the coolest thing because it's my idol. It's got MVP on it. I'm like, man, how much is that one worth? Didn't know shit about comps. I wasn't looking up sold on eBay, this, that, and the other. You kind of just, you trust people, and just in life you don't want to really just trust anybody. But I was like, oh, all these guys are selling cards, it's in public, all these people are commenting on it, it must be a decent deal, kind of thing. And then you get in the PMs and you just get taken over. So once I learned comps and all that, I just spent a lot of time just studying where the hobby has come and where we are now, and just took it all in. Then I started a group, actually, Double Take Breaks. So I started breaking, and I started really primarily with like retail. So I've just never been able to get retail in stores and stuff. I was touring a wedding venue in Tennessee, actually, and on the way home, I just stopped and happened to hit like a huge, like like restock. and I didn't wipe the shelves or anything. I picked up, it was like 8 megas or something like that. It was like probably 40 megas on the shelf. I think it was like Illusions or something crazy. And I started breaking, dude. I just threw it up on eBay. I just like, started up the group on Facebook, started inviting people. Just people started pouring in from eBay. So every time you break, they join the group. Same thing, just over and over again. So then I
Right.
started, expanding on products and stuff like that. And I just got really into it and, ran a few hundred breaks. Eventually met Eli, and Eli kind of transitioned me. I went out of Double Take Breaks, which was my original brand, and went over to Sports Card World. Well, me and Eli, we basically ran Sports Card World for a while. He took on a different group, just wanted to do a smaller thing. And I built that group up, probably, I think, 4,000 members. Don't want to talk about why I'm not there anymore. Kind of got the rug pulled from under me over there. But that guy's still running that group. And I think it's got like almost 3,000 members now. So it's definitely went the wrong direction since,
Right.
you know, I left. But basically, I came back one day. I think it was for my actual wedding, and it was just a lot of stuff going on. Like mentally, I was just exhausted. There, like I could not, like just I had to take a break. It was an out of town wedding, so I took like a 2 or 3 week break. Well, when I get back on Facebook, like, okay, I got all this product. What's going on here? And all my mods were gone. My admin was taken from me. I was still a member, but I was just a member. All that hard work was gone. So I was pissed. I was pretty depressed. It was just like a lot of my time. Like a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. At that point, I had really good friends in there. Built up the audience. I was just it was fun. So I got offline. I kind of chatted with Eli, and he was like, "Look, man, I got this group, and it's got like 50, 60 people in it. It's some of my regulars. Why don't you get that started up?" And I was like, you know what? You got to start somewhere. I'm not going to let this, kill me. Like, I'm not going to let this put me out the hobby. I'm not going to let this, just pull me away from all these good people I met. I'm going to keep this going. But I had a different idea when I started the collective. So, the collective by nature, the definition of collective is just doing things together. It's a team. It's like one end goal, but you're doing it together. So I was like, okay, well, that's literally what I think the hobby should be. I think we all
Mhm.
should be helping each other to get wherever we want to be. We need each other. Can't sell things to yourself. Can't break by yourself unless you want to just rip wax all the time. You can go buy it, but somebody's still got to sell it to you. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I was like, I'm not going to focus on breaking anymore. It's just too much time and effort, shipping and filling the breaks. And then the real thing about breaks that got me away from it is I felt like I was forcing people in, like not forcing. I was never like PMing people. Oh, come take a team here. Oh, why not? I was never that person. Like if it didn't fill, it didn't fill. Fuck it. But I just felt like, my regulars started feeling forced in, like they kept buying in, and like, you run a couple a week and, they're spending a good bit of money with you. And if you're not pulling them shit, you feel terrible. Like
Absolutely.
it takes a certain person to be able to just keep taking people's money and not give them anything in return. There's breakers out there that'll throw freebies, and that's because they feel bad and they respect their audience. But then there's breakers out there that it's all just a dollar sign. So you're not getting shit. Like you hit base cards, they're not shipping base cards, and you're not getting anything. If they're
Right.
shipping base cards, you're getting base cards. So it's just like I just wanted to get away from that stigma and just do something different. And what is everybody chasing in a break? A hit. They want a hit. They want a card that they can sell. So what are lines? Lines are hits. Lines are things that you can sell. You're gambling, for however many spots you buy, but you know what you're getting. You're not
Right.
sitting there ripping a box to pull a Desmond Ritter auto and that be like the big hit of the box. And then a year later, it's worth 50 cents, like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's, there's just so many different things. I mean, some boxes you get a case hit and it's somebody that's on a different team and the old team's uniform, or, just things like that. It's like, you could get a major, like a case hit in a hobby box, and it'd be worth like $15, $10, you know? So you just know what you're getting into, you know, like clearly, you know, I don't even like to talk about comps, you know, but like if you have $100 card, you're going to sell it somewhere in between 80 to $200 if you're, you know, 200% comps on a line, or whether you're under comps on a line. You know, people can freely go and look and see what that card's worth to see if they want to participate. You know, it's up to the individual, to each their own. If you want to get in, get in. If you don't, then don't. But you know what you're getting. So I'm like, let's just start a line group. I'm gonna try to, you know, start lining people, like lining shit. You know, we'll try to start getting in the flashes, and I'll never forget this. When we would probably be, I ran it until me and John Gadessia ball. I probably totally jacked up his name, but I just
I
don't.
was gonna say,
Yeah,
holy snap! Was that right?
I have
Dude,
no idea. I hope it's right, but
this group is just full of crazy names, bro.
no, man. I hope I'm right, but John G. Sometimes I'll say John God, but it's just like in my head. So John G. Was with me, just my whole adventure from double take breaks, very beginning, and me and him just kind of started the show. You know, like John never ran a group. He was just always with me. Saw how I, you know, carried myself, carried the group, how I did things, and he just kind of learned from me and just, you know, we just took it over around 600, 700 members. That's when I got Rich involved. Literally off of a post looking for help. Like, I want to keep growing this thing. You know, we have 600, 700 people in here. You put up a card, it may fill, it may not. We need more bodies. We need more people that are, you know, going to get involved so we can, you know, start spreading the wealth around, start, you know, just supporting each other. We need to build a support system. And then it was just kind of history from there. Just to be completely honest with you, and I've done talk so much, I don't even know if I got away from the original question or not. But
Dude,
that's how I got into the hobby, and that's kind of where, you know, the collective kind of started. And that's just like a streamlined short story. There's so much more meat in
for
between
sure.
there.
Well, I mean, yeah, you hit a bunch of stuff that I was gonna ask, which is awesome. But let me just say, you know, I was telling Rich when we sat down about True Blood brought me over because him and I met through being admins in another group, and I've always been into repacks. So
Yeah,
kind of the same thought process and feeling is like, man, I get into these breaks, and if I'm lucky, I'm getting base cards sent. You know, same story that you gave, but I know in this repack, if I'm in a good one with people doing it right, I know I'm going to get either this value or this value if I hit, or somewhere in between. Let's, you know,
right.
75 to 500, whatever the case is. So it was the similar idea. And then Pat kept giving me the invites to the collective. I didn't even realize, you know, he was an admin in there or anything like that. But I'm in 8 million groups, you know, and it's just
Yeah,
like, you know how the algorithm is. If I don't, you know, if I'm not looking at it, I'm not seeing it. Um,
right, right.
and then I started realizing, man, I'm starting to see these lines a lot more, you know. And then I look at the collective and like they're doing these crazy lines, and then they're doing these things called flashes, and I'm like, what in the shit is this? And I'm like, holy snap, I'm hooked. And then, you know, fast forward to now, but the way all of the admins and the group members treated everybody, I mean, truly, everybody says they want positive vibes and all, and they're full of shit. They don't want positive vibes, they want money. That is not the case there. And all my suspected feelings about the guys. Let's fast forward to I become a mod in the group, and I'm like, dude, everything I thought was true because the group chat embodies what I thought was going on
Yeah,
in the whole room, and it does. It's bananas, and everybody's you know, being idiots and stuff. But then it's time to work, and everybody's helping each other. Everybody's jumping in. So I just wanted to say kudos to you and the team you put forth to make that happen because I didn't realize how young the group was.
yeah.
I thought you guys have been around for years. So
No, just I've been around for years. A lot of the guys been around for years, but the collective is a baby. A little over a year old now. It's still a baby.
that's mind blowing.
It
What?
fast too. Like it was like it's not like we were just sitting there. A lot of people think they can just start a group and it'll just get here overnight or get there overnight. Like oh, it's easy. You just invite people and they join. Like it's not like that whatsoever. Like you have to put effort into it. Like if somebody's joining your group and it's a complete shit show, it's disorganized, mods are all over the place. There's no rules and, just regulations, it's just anything, like you're not going to stay there. I'm going to be like, what's the point of me staying here? Like I'm in, to your point, 8 million groups. Why am I going to join this new group and stay here and work on building support, like have to deal with lines not filling for me because they don't know my name? Why even stay around? And the answer to that, and this may be some advice, but I'll be honest with you. The answer to that is like, have a good fucking team, have good people in that group, make it worth staying. We prided ourselves on giveaways. We've done some monster giveaways. We've done, we sent somebody to any sports game they liked. It ended up being Connor, who's been a supporter since the beginning. We sent him to his first Niners game. Like those tickets are
Wait.
stupid.
Connor wanted to go to San Francisco?
Connor Carroll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so wait, let me see if I can get this real clip right. Connor wanted to go to San Francisco. Shocker. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was he
Right.
knows what I'm joking about.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, no, but no, he went to the game. Like I said, like I wish we could have sent somebody to a Saints game or a Browns game. Those tickets were expensive, but we gave a $500 limit. I think it ended up being like a little, 560, 550, something like that. He got some great seats.
That's awesome.
It wasn't like nosebleed seats or anything like that. And that was just like the start of it. I mean, before that, we were doing small giveaways, like cards, anybody hop in, like cash line, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. And the thing is, like, it wasn't just me doing that. It was the team. Like, like it was the people that were in there. And it's just, our team started small and we just kept growing. And, people try to shit on me, I will literally quote this. I give out, mod badges like candy. And no, I don't. We have one requirement to become a mod or, eventually an admin, and that's be a good fucking person. Be a good person in the hobby. Like doesn't mean, just don't be a scammer. It means be a good person, bring good vibes, help people get familiar with the hobby, bring new people in, do right by like the children, like getting them involved, giving them free cards, just shit like that,
Yep.
just teaching and not being just a stuck up asshole. It's just like posting lines nonstop, trying to bribe this person and that person to get in with discount, shit like that. Like that just sets me off, but like the team, it's grown, but it's all with good people. Now, when you, you know, when you look like a good person, seem like a good person, you make it onto the team. Like people get through the cracks. We've had to boot mods, we've had to boot admins, but we stand by it, because if you're not the person we thought you were and the person that you portrayed yourself to be, then like you fucking fooled me, but you're gone. You're done.
Yeah.
We're not going to keep somebody around that doesn't like embody our foundation. And our foundation was put forth like day one, the collective, doing everything together, good vibes only. We're not going to stand for bullying. We're not going to stand for bashing this or that or the other, like, I don't grow by any means. Like we don't grow the group by any means. I don't want PMs to people to join the group that we don't know. Like build relationships, then you invite them to your group. Like grow organically. That's like one of the big things. We don't just sit there and shoot out invites. We don't. I've never advised a team that you have to invite this many people. Like in the beginning, we were sending out invites, but it was always to like-minded people of the hobby, people you have relationships with. Like I never wanted to be that grimy group that's just like going in the other groups, stealing all the people that they see in the line. Like that's fucking easy. That's easy. Anybody can do that.
Hmm.
But like it's your image. You're putting your image out there. So it's like I don't want to look like the guy that's sitting there, like with a little cup asking for followers and asking for group members. Like if you want to join the group, I want you to be here. So
Right.
all about organic growth, man. Just like members like what they see, they invite other members. Giveaways where you invite members, and we have vetting processes. We don't just approve anybody. Like if, you know, we have to kind of just judge based off of your Facebook, profile. We run you against scammers. We recognize the name. If your name is, Michael Jordan, but you spelled it wrong, and it's like, okay, well, I don't know if this is your real name or not. Oh, you have 300 groups and two groups in common, and I click, and one of the groups is sealed wax sales and sports card nonsense. I'm going to think you're a scammer. If I don't have any mutuals with you or anything like that,
For
you're not
sure.
in. So it's not like we just sit there and mass approve everyone. You do that, you end up like a public group, like, some of those groups that just were overrun by scammers. You can't even, put
Yep.
up a card for sale or trust who you're buying from. It gets to be a lot, but yeah, I mean, with all that being said, it's just we built a big team, but I'll always tell my team it's collective. We do everything together. I'm not going to force you to do this, that, or the other. This isn't a job, like it feels like a job sometimes, but like I'm
For
not going to
sure.
force you to do something. I'm not going to say you have to do this. You have to dedicate this amount of time or you're gone, and then kick you out. If you're getting kicked out, it's because you're an asshole and you don't like you're just not good for the group or the hobby, in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. We all just pitch in, we get shit done. I had to be a lot, me, Rich, and John. We had to be very hands on in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Probably like the first at least 7-8 months. It's just we were spending from when we got off of work all through the night, early mornings, lunch, just anything you could think of, just working on the group, just everything around it. And now we have a bunch of individuals that are they bleed collective. They want to keep the group going. We help each other. We back each other up. And that's in my way. That's the way I want to do it. Bunch of dads, a bunch of guys just trying to get through in the hobby. Build some support funds, building some hobby funds. Spending out of our bank for cards that we like. If you're me, but that's how it is.
I love it though, man. Like, like I said, I've been part of a bunch of groups, admin and mod, with my own, with the same challenges I'm going through, what you're talking about and stuff like that. So it's refreshing and motivational, if you will, um, to see how you do it and how your guys do it, and how welcoming they are. And like the only thing that I get a little worried about is how everybody bashes the old man Pat all the time. Like I feel bad for him sometimes, but once in a while,
We Yeah, we may bash them, but at the end of
I'm
the day,
kidding.
we're sending them breakfast, we're sending them the pens, we're sending him you know everything you could think of except for wins
Yeah,
because he likes to roll us the L's all the time.
all the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so I know you do your thing on whatnot as well. Just as far as TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatnot, social media, eBay. I mean, where do you see the future of sports cards? Do you see groups like Facebook staying, growing, getting smaller, or do you see it migrating to, just strictly to Fanatics and TikTok? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I think it's up to Facebook. I think it's up to Meta. Like if they start shutting down these groups, for gambling or whatever the case, then we're going to be in a lot different situation. But TikTok, they started running everything through like the shop. They started shutting down lives. You have to have like it's getting a lot more difficult to really expand on those platforms. Um, to me, like what I see in our future, TikTok, we definitely want to capture that audience. Doing videos, doing podcasts like this, just little snips of that, just fun shit. Like have the guys send in content. Just be ourselves. Literally
Hmm.
take a 5-10 minutes out of the group chat and just put it into a video. It's like a movie scene. It is like we're all fun, sarcastic. We're just like, I don't like to use the word jokesters, but I don't know what other word to use there. We're just we just
It's
have
hilarious.
right. So like, why not just put that shit out there? Like, a lot of people build brands as like individuals. Like you have all those individuals out there putting up videos of themselves nonstop, pushing their own brand, and it's like we're a group brand, so we go out there and we're pushing the collective. So you could see 10 videos and it'd be 10 different people, but they're all going to
Right.
be different people of the team or the group or something like that. So it's a lot different when you're pushing a group versus, like an individual as like your own brand kind of thing. So, I mean, TikTok still got its purpose. Instagram, another place I actually started with double take breaks there as well. Like I had them
Hmm.
both going. Um, a lot of scammers there. A lot of scammers there. It's just kind of like Facebook. They just have less like control around it. Like
Right.
I don't know if there's some kind of scammers group there, but it's just, it's not Instagram is like, you're posting pictures unless you're on threads. I haven't even got on threads, but it's
Yeah.
just different. There's not groups. There's
Yeah.
group chats and shit, but I mean, you don't really know who you're dealing with. You
No,
can't.
I've
Yeah.
done some deals with some dudes on there. Fortunately, they've gone okay. But
Yeah.
actually, to be fair though, I've done them on there because I've met them at a card show locally or something.
Right.
And all the pages I see, like scammer tracker stuff or break check, all these kinds of different things. They're really focusing on Facebook and Instagram and
Yeah.
TikTok and stuff. So,
Yeah.
anyways, but what are you gonna do? So there's so many things going on in the hobby right now. Obviously, the big one is Panini and Fanatics. What do you think that changes for us? Do I was asking, I've asked everybody, specifically Rich in the last one, what if we don't have downtowns anymore? What if we don't have these case hits? What if we only have refractors?
Right.
What happens? Like, what do you think?
It gets boring, in my opinion. Like hopefully Panini still just puts out those downtowns, puts out those case hits, and if I have to adjust to unlicensed product, I will, because I'm not just going to sit there and collect boring cards.
Yeah,
Like I'll hold on to some of that's the direction the hobby's going to go in. With Fanatics and Tops, whatever. Like you're just going to have to investment wise, you're going to have to adapt and just go with where the audience goes. You have to go where the money goes. But
sure.
if you're not only worried about that, if you're worried about actually collecting cards that you like, it's a big hit. I can say I hate Panini all day long, but man, I love downtowns. I was looking
Right.
around to see if I had any next to me. Like that was my,
Yeah,
downtowns. Those are some of my favorite cards. Like artwork on those kabooms and just any. I mean,
for
probably
sure.
getting the Marvel is just anything you could think of. Like I just like the cool cards. I like the chases. Like obviously autos are cool too, but I mean, look at the deals. They're like fighting against each other. They're like signing players exclusively just to fuck the other company over, and it fucks
Right.
us over. Like so it's like you may have your favorite player, your favorite rookie coming in. 10 years from now, that may be like one of your favorite players of all time, but their rookie cards are just a red helmet.
Yeah,
Like maybe on license, or like then you have like Penix signed license with signed with Panini, and he has license stuff, but you won't have that for Jaden Daniels. It's just I hate how it's split. Like that's my biggest thing. And then it's like just really hope the case hits stay alive. Hopefully Tops does some cool shit. I mean they have the money too. Fanatics has the brains. Like hopefully they drive just some cool shit to the consumer and
sure.
actually you know look at what we want to see versus what they think we want to see. You know.
Yeah. If I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would 100% bet that Panini sells the rights to like Optic and Obsidian and all that. And I'm praying they do.
I
And
hope
then I
so.
hope they don't change much. Just because I'm the same way, man. Like downtowns were it for not only me but for my son. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and what do? We make cards of our kids in downtowns when we remake them. I mean, like that's everything. And that was a big draw to me in repacks because man, I got a better chance of hitting a downtown on one of these more expensive. I don't know. That's just
Look
my
how
thought,
stable
right?
the markets are on them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, think about it. You take that
Right.
refractor, that player does shit, and the price is down. You
Yeah,
take it downtown, Tyreek Hill doing shit, absolutely nothing on, just dying on the Dolphins. Well, his downtown's still like $300.
for sure.
Like downtowns aren't going to drop,
For sure.
significantly under like $200, maybe 150 if it's like a super old school legend or something like that.
Yeah.
But like it's still
Still.
stability there.
Yep. As my buddy Sebastian calls them, shelf stable cards.
They
And
are.
I
Yeah.
love that term, you know. So I noticed that I'm scrolling through the collective one day, and my buddy Andrew has a post up with repacks.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on those? And where do you think that
Oh
goes for the
man.
collective?
This is funny because I was hardcore. Like, I don't mind repacks. Don't get me wrong. I love repacks, but they have to be done right. I think
Hmm.
if you do them right, you have the proper, just clear floor, ceilings, averages. You're making. I'm not a fan of loose boxes, just throwing cards, in a box and putting a number on it and saying, "Oh, it's a repack break," and you only have one of them. Like, I mean, come on.
Yep.
And so I'm a big fan of putting them in a case, maybe having like a case hit out of that case,
Hmm.
10 plus kind of thing, just doing it right. And so I've just been against it. I've always wanted to actually do them myself, but I know I didn't have the time to dedicate,
Ugh.
to that. Like, I just to do it correctly.
Right.
Comps are up and down all the time, especially during football season. Up one week,
Hmm.
down the next. One injury, and dropping 50%. There's just so many things that go into
Yep.
it. So when Andrew started talking about it, I was like, look, I'll be honest with you. Everybody that's come with me and tried to run them, I'm just like, let's hold off on it. It just gets funny. You look at every, 9 out of 10 scamming videos on TikTok or just that go viral. It's always something to do with a repack. This person's ripping that person off. They may start out solid and then they start getting sucked into the, making thousands of dollars a day. And,
Totally.
you just end up with some just scummy ass product. So, it was always one of those areas I just didn't want to really get into unless somebody had the time to do it right. So
Right.
Andrew and I talked. Andrew, he met with you. He talked with you, picked your brain. He picked several people's brains, just kind of took in the knowledge. And he came to me and he just laid it out. And I was just, we tweaked things here and there. I said, why don't you try this? And, we just kind of bounced it off of each other. But for the most part, Andrew did all of that work, and
Mhm.
it's turning out great. Like the repacks have been good, good value there, and it's literally all I asked for. I was like,
Yeah. I
we're
I
gonna do
think
them right, and it's not gonna be just anybody.
watching it unfold. Well, even when he called initially, I mean, dude, he understood it. Like if I would have understood that at the beginning, it'd be a whole different thing. He already got it. Um, a little bit of advice I gave him, just minor, very very minor. He
Yeah,
had it. He understands because he knows cards and he knows collectors themselves. And I think that's another thing to the collective's point is, man, they know their guys. They know their audience very well. And if maybe I don't know these ones, he knows these ones.
right.
And that's what's so nice. And I see a very bright future for those repacks. Just my thought. And I'm hoping for them because they're super cool. But
Yeah, they're fun. They're
they,
fun, and
they
you make them
are.
expensive. That was another thing. I was like, let's not try to run out, $300-400 repack, repack breaks like that cost $150 a division, or
Yeah.
this, running 32 teams, and it's a $20 gamble for one card, and then you have 31 losers.
Yeah.
Like there's just a lot that went into it, and he's doing it perfectly. It was everything that I wanted it to be when I was telling people like, no, let's not go that direction. Like, sorry, like if we're gonna do something, let's stick to wax. And then the other thing is I just didn't want a million other people trying to run repacks and sell their repacks, and
Yeah.
so we just kind of I wanted the person that did it to know the work that it entails. And to your point, he knew the work ahead of him. He knew
Yeah.
like the money he needed to put into it. He knew, how to keep it not looking scammy, randomizing everything, making a bunch
Mhm.
at a time, just being completely clear and candid with everything. He just did everything right from the start, and it's still a learning experience for him. But what I can tell you is, like these repacks are for what we stand for. They're our foundation. They're for everybody. We're trying to mix it up. Like it's just a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good repackers out there. You run some good ones yourself, and it's just a matter of staying with the ones you trust.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's, I mean, like anything though, if we're spending money in a break or in a line, we're going to gravitate to people we believe in, and it goes back to the foundation is, the community aspects.
We try to we don't like to set anybody up for failure, so we always shared, tips, tricks just for like running lists, how we do things, running the queue lines, how we look at people, how we vet people like in the queue, just all things around that, our rules. It's really honestly just like a going into a normal job, like you're trying to learn everything, and we're trying to provide as much training as we can. And like I always say, ask questions when you don't know, just whatever you want to learn about, let us know. And like when we started getting more and more people, it kind of just works itself out now. Like they see the chats, they see, when we're live in a flash and we're in the business chat and we're talking through, what's happening, anything, like you're usually not on an island during like during a flash. Like if something happens, someone's there to help you, to back you up. Early on in the beginning, like when Rue came on, um, he made a list of notes, but it formatted wrong, so it automatically formatted like in notes, like numbering system. And when we tried to
Mhm.
copy it over, it was just a mess. It was like, just I don't even remember what happened, but we had to totally like redo the list and stuff. And I was there for a lot of them guys, like through that, deleting list and just random things like that. So it could be a lot for sure. So what we primarily do now is, like when we have new mods and all, we just make them, feel comfortable once they're ready to, start doing more. um, like if you're going into the flash world, you want to become a host, start as a banker, get a feel
Mhm.
for those payments coming in, and liking those payments, you know, figuring out non-payers so we can, ensure a smooth run. So like that's where you start when you go, in that direction. But then you have people that, they may not want to host, they may not want to bank, but we still have room for them. We still, they still help with the queue. They're still there to help with their knowledge. When we have questions, when
Mhm.
just monitoring the group, things like that. We get a ton of messages, so guys help with that. We all have like our pride and joys. We all have our things that we like to do and things that we hate to do. I hate tagging. Like I obviously I was a flash host when we were getting started. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. It's mentally exhausting. It can be physically exhausting too, like looking down the whole time trying to work a list. But it's draining. And I didn't give it up because I didn't like it. I gave it up to give other people opportunities. Like
Mhm.
I want my whole team to, pitch in and, make some money to spend back in the group, to spend
Yep.
elsewhere in the hobby. Like I don't tell them they only have to spend with us. Go buy what you want to do what you want to do. You'll never see that from me. There's groups that I won't touch with, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, but like sometimes that's just, it is what it is, to each their own. Some people like those groups. So
Yeah.
it's just, honestly, training is just kind of all around how fast they want to learn. There's always things to learn. There's always new situations that arise, and that's kind of just what I do, is try to watch everything, provide oversight, just strategical motions. Let's start doing this. Let's throw up this. Let's take care of this. Just things like that. Just kind of like the planning aspect, and making sure we're following our rules when things get escalated. When members are doing this, that, and the other, and it's, it just needs to be addressed. So there's a lot, like you're not going to come on and I'm going to say your job is going to be, queue management. Like, no, we all pitch in. Now sometimes, lines sit long. Sometimes we're all busy and we don't check. Sometimes a member tries to post a line and it sits for a little bit, but it's not because we're like purposely letting it sit there. It's just because, we all have jobs, we have families, we have things that we're doing. Like that's why we have a big team. So hopefully that doesn't happen. So
Right.
just a multitude of things that kind of go into shaping the team, and when people come on, training wise.
Right. I know for me, I'm looking at like, I'll see some in the queue getting ready to lines that need to get approved, and I'm like, okay, this is an easy one. I know I can approve this. This one's easy. This one I'm not sure,
Yeah,
and I want to go to the office, so I'm gonna
yeah,
skip that.
yeah.
And
It's
that's
some
just how
stuff
I roll. It
actually.
just, you
Some
know,
shit I'll just leave there. Like we have two warriors, and I probably would have to say Carl definitely takes care of us there. So it used to be me that would take care of the hard stuff in the queue. Like if I should, if people leave it there, I'll figure it out. Like fuck it, like I don't feel comfortable with this. I'm gonna decline it,
mhm,
give some feedback, or like it doesn't, this is a good supporter, but it's not following our rules. So I'll reach out in the PM and just be nice about it because nothing's
yeah,
hostile. Like we're never trying to be hostile with you. Like if we're declining your post in the queue, it's just because we don't want to show like favoritism to anybody. If everybody else is doing something, and they're following the rules, we're going to ask you to do the same just so
sure.
it doesn't look like a total mess. So,
Well,
like Carl helps us out a lot there, but,
yeah,
Q's, I don't think it's anybody's favorite thing to do just because, we're trying not to get scammed,
for sure.
I think we've had two scams in the course of, almost a year and a half now. And it was just very minor things. And, hats off to the team and, our vetting system. That's really what has helped us there. We
Yeah,
work closely with the scammer admins. We try to vet them in that group. We ask around. We're searching around. Sometimes we search them around groups. Like I'll plug them in, search their name in groups, and that's the main reason I stay in some of these groups. It's just to
right.
see like, okay, they posted a line 4 weeks ago. It filled. Let me go look at the comments to see if anybody's in there saying "ship my card, you piece of shit."
Yeah, for sure.
I'll go in there and look for stuff like that. And if everything looks good, I'm just like, yeah, just get vetted, or if it's somebody that has been in the hobby for a while, sometimes I'll just approve it. If it's sitting
Mhm.
in there, and I'll just message them after and say, we got to get you some, some vouchers. That's why your post was declined before. There's all kinds of different ways to do it. But scammers, I don't like to call them smart by any means, but they're not trying to be stupid every single time.
Yeah,
They're yeah,
some of them are smart though. That's the
yeah,
problem, and
yeah.
then
No,
some of them
they'll
play the
buy
long game.
they'll play the long game. They'll buy
Mhm.
shit and they'll scam you.
Yeah,
I got scammed out of $700 in sports card world. Some dude literally was one of my what I thought was good friends. We did trades. We bought shit. He would find into my breaks. I would trade with just all kinds of shit. Like we would talk all the time. I'd help him. With some shit, and he would pay me back. And then one day, I wanted to run. I remember it was 2020 Select, and I was just trying to find the best deal on it. And he was like, "Oh, my hobby shop has it, and it's not that badly priced." And I ended up just buying a shit ton, sent him the money for it because I trusted him, and he just never came back. Never.
ugh,
I seen him around actually in another group before. Messaged. I'll never forget this too. I don't remember who the guy was, but I could find it. But you, sir, are a piece of work, whoever you are that I had this conversation with. I was like, this guy scammed me out of like, almost $1,000. He's a piece of shit. And he scammed a whole bunch of other people in groups that I was good friends with, you know. Billy McMahon is his name. I'll never forget it. And the the group owner was just like, yeah, well, that's not here, so I don't really care. I'm like, okay, well,
oh wow,
definitely, yeah, you have some pride in this hobby for sure. Like you're definitely one of the most upstanding members of the hobby. Just clearly me coming to you, like
that's
telling
crazy.
you that this guy just scammed me and scammed a whole nother group. He was like a mod in another group. And like I said, this guy made friends with all of us and over the course of a year. And he ran like a giveaway and never sent anything. He was all like telling people he's going to send them this and that. Just like I guess he overextended himself. I guess he needed the money. I don't know, but he stole from us. He scammed us. And yeah, that group owner, can't think of it off the top of my head. Like I said, I saw him jumping in breaks around, and I was like, so you'd rather his $25 for whatever team he's claiming, like you'd rather that than to just have some respect from like a good hobby person, like have some
Right.
respect for other people that lost serious money from this guy, like just a piece of work.
That's crazy. Dude, Confucius says everything's all good till it ain't. And that's how I treat I don't know, man. I got hit for 500 bucks and I don't know exactly what happened. And this was a month ago. And dude, I almost quit. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's principle. It's principle, dude.
it,
Like it's like I could have $1 million in the bank and you scam me over a $50 card. Like
yeah.
I'm fucking pissed because like you wasted my time. Like you got one over on me. You know, like
Mhm.
just like
It's a
it's
personal attack on me. I don't care how you
it
spin
is.
it. And yeah, not a fan. But all right, let's get into some good stuff here. I don't want it sounds I don't I feel like we're sounding negative. This hobby still is awesome and I have a ton of fun in it, and I know you do. So I have this section, and we call it Flash or Fact. I'll throw out some questions to you. If it's fake or false, you're going to say flash. And if it's true, you go fact. So pretty simple, all right? The pre COVID boom was crazier than the post COVID market. Is that flash or fact?
I say I say flash. So like there's two different things here. Like which one did I like more? Pre-COVID. I think there was just more of like actual collectors in the hobby versus like just the dollar sign chasers. The ATMs. Um, yeah, I mean, like if you want to go to like which I think crazier, definitely. I think post COVID. I think post COVID's crazier. Everybody's chasing the same cards. The market's just jumping on certain things, crashing on others. You have good players that are worth way less than players that haven't even taken a snap in the
Right.
NFL. Like it's just crazy shit. Like it's
It's
just everything.
speculation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's I agree. I agree. You would rather this is you would rather buy raw than buying slabbed.
I'm OCD about it. So I would rather buy raw than and I'm talking about like PC wise, like my collection. I can't stand nines or less. I like to see two digits on there. Like I like to see PSA 10. Like if it's a SGC, let it be a 10. Beckett, I have some wiggle room with. I will do a gold label. I'll do a 9.5. But like other than that, like I like to say it as like all of my PSA nines are for sale, even in the PC. Like
Right.
I don't actively sell it, but I would move it, and it's pretty much to make sure I get a 10 or try to find a 10. But nines, it's just OCD about them. I don't know what it is. Still a great card, still better than 90% of the raw circulated cards, but it's just one of those things. I'd rather it not in the slab than have a ugly ass 7, 8, or 9 on there. So
Right.
that's just
Fair.
me speaking personally.
I get it. All right, flash of fact. Wax will always outperform singles long term.
I'm gonna say Flash. I'll say Flash. So what gets me there?
Hmm.
So all right, with Wax, this is how I feel about Wax. Like short term, I would think like 100% Flash, just because your singles are the best hits that come out of Wax. Now
Sure.
long term, those cards become investments. But if you don't have someone, all right, 20, Mahomes year was 2017,
Yeah.
people are chasing Mahomes. 2018, you have who is that? Lamar and no, Lamar's 19.
He's
Josh
19.
Allen 2018.
Yeah.
Okay, 2020, you have Burrow and Justin Jefferson.
Herbert.
Okay, now you get to 2021. Who's your long term investment there? Because why not just buy singles of Chase?
Right.
Like who else is in
But
class? Like I mean, you have some receivers,
yeah, that
receivers and all.
I get it. I was looking at it when from my head like I got a box of 2020, I don't know, what an optic, a
Yeah,
hobby
yeah, for sure. No,
in
like
the
some
safe,
wax, yeah, some wax. I think long term, like great investment. I think long term, there's a lot of singles out there that are great investments. It's just I've also seen hobby boxes from like the mid 2000s and shit like that going for a few $100 because there's nobody in them.
right.
you know,
Yeah, that
Nobody worth the shit. You might as well
very
just buy
true.
the best player that was in that class, or
I
you
like
know
it.
whatever you like out of that product. So I'll say I'm in the middle of Flash and Fact. Like
That's my first middle answer, and I gotta say I agree with you.
situational. It's situational. I fully think it's situational. There's better times to invest in singles, depending on what it is. Like you have to say, like what wax is it? versus what
Sure.
single is it, you know?
Okay. All right.
That's
Flash or fact. Facebook groups are better than live selling apps.
fact.
All
Fact.
right.
More personable, more, you're a human. You sit there and whatnot and you're talking to yourself. Like, if I were to step out of my body and watch myself do a whatnot show, I'd be like, look at this freaking idiot. He's sitting there talking to himself. He's talking to his phone. You know what? Like this, it's just
For sure.
but like, and you're sitting there reading comments from people you have no clue who they are for the most part. They're bashing you about this, or
Yeah.
they're like, just you'll never see him again. But then you go to a group and, what you say follows you. You go
Yes.
like, oh, this guy's, talking shit. Like, I'm gonna boot him, but let me go see. He has pictures with all of his family, and he's works here and he works there. It's just more personable. So like, you make a
Yeah.
friend there, and you can follow their life basically. Like
Yeah.
you can't do that on Whatnot. You can't really, in TikTok you can unless it's just a straight card page, which for the most part they are. But
Right.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. Facebook, I think it has growth potential. The new generation gets into Facebook, they'll see these groups, see how there's something going nonstop. You're not limited to a few different streams at random times of the day,
Right.
and that's what I'm going with.
I you make a quick point, something that I want to touch on too. It's I see it the way you described it as layers. Like we got the first layer of acquiring said card, however we're doing it, buying it in an auction, a break, whatever, and we can
Yeah,
do that on any of the platforms.
yeah,
But when we peel back any layers and it becomes the hobby itself, not just getting a card, because us that have been in it for more than an hour know there's so much more to that. When you hand a kid a card at a card show, and especially if it's their first card show, it changes them. Now they are collectors. And that's the layer I'm talking about that you can hit at with Facebook groups. And it's
yeah,
the only one that really has that ability, in
yeah.
my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, I personally, I won a line before. I think it was last year's Madden. I won a line just supporting the guy. I already had Madden, so I threw it up. I said, drop a picture. Like basically, if you have a kid and they are into Madden, send. I think I said send. Drop a picture in the comments of your kid's PS5 because I wanted to make sure they had a PS5. I wanted to make sure they had kids,
I
and I
like
wanted
it.
to make sure they needed Madden. So just gave it away. I ran it, and somebody got mad, and it ended up being somebody's kid who's been asking for it for a while, and I think his like birthday was coming up or something, and they planned to get it for him or something like that. But it was cool because hey, that
Yeah.
kid's got Madden from a random person off of Facebook that's just correlated with the hobby.
Yep.
So it was cool. The
That
hobby.
is cool.
So we can do things like that. We can do giveaways. We can do charity lines. We talked about flashes earlier, but like I like to do benefits. I'm one of the groups that like I'm not going to run a benefit for everything. It has to be, it can't be like self-inflicted. It can't be, just someone that's never supported anybody in the group. But like when you become family, you become, a supporter, and you become someone that, we're trying to flash and we're hosting for to return support to you. And, you come across a hard time, whether it be, sickness or just a random happening, like we can help with that. We raised over $7,000 for Andrew, member of our team, member of the hobby, member of a bunch of different teams around Facebook. Just a good guy. It's $7,000 to go towards what happened over there with him,
Yep.
and it's just crazy. It's like the snap of a finger, and you could totally take just change somebody's life or at least change their moment.
Yeah.
You could turn just something that's an additional stress. You can just take that stress away. It's
Yeah,
one
and
of those
it's
things.
very hard to even achieve something like that in the real world. So
Yeah,
that's the, an advantage of social media when there aren't a lot of advantages for social media because it's pretty gross overall, but that's one of the beautiful things. So
right.
dig
You
it.
don't have to go to GoFundMe. They're not going to take 40, 50%,
Right.
whatever you take of your your final profit. You got to raise 20 grand to hit 10 grand, or you have to raise at least 15, 16 grand to get the 7 grand that we raised. So I mean, and then just how the hobby comes together in those situations. It's
Yeah.
crazy. You know,
Yeah.
I had a stroke earlier in the year in April. The hobby came together. You know, a couple of groups ran something for me. You know, that helped me tremendously because I'm sitting here paying for all these bills, and then comes after the hospital stay, like all the rehab, like not even for me, not even rehab, just like all of these tests that I have to do to make sure what happened is just like a one-off, or let's figure out why it's happening, let's figure out what's going on still. You end up in the whole 40-50 grand before you know it, and then you're dealing with the insurance companies and all of this and that.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you, like, raising money through the hobby, like it can really help you take a lot of stuff off your plate. I just have
Absolutely.
the utmost respect for it, and that's what we stand for here. We're here to help people. Like, if I can help somebody at the end of the day, that's what I'm going to do. That's why you don't see me lining cards nonstop. That's why you don't see me selling shit nonstop. Like, do I need to? 100% yes. But I'm also here just trying to support, just the hobby, support my group, support what we built. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. It's crazy how many there's some big groups out there, and boy, do they fail to capitalize on any freaking positivity they can put out into the world.
yeah,
And it,
I'm run off of negativity. That's what I
yeah,
stay away from.
yeah, for sure. And some of these guys have built their brand on the idea of community, group, family, all this bullshit. And
Yeah,
they don't put their money where their mouth is. So shout out to all the groups that do that stuff. That is cool. And shout out to the admins and the group owners or whatever you want to call them that will work together on those things.
yeah.
Because watching a few, form for Andrew's last one, boy, what an undertaking! But how badass was that? Uh,
Stronger together. Like
Sure.
like there's no room for selfish in the hobby. Like, I mean, there's 9 out of 10 people are selfish in the hobby. I'm trying to find that one that isn't, and that's who I want in my group. I would just, like, just it's there comes a point to where things are bigger than your Facebook group.
Right.
Just because if you have 10, 15, 20, 50, 100,000 members, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm still gonna help how whatever way I can. Like, I don't care that it's like, oh, I'm not gonna promote another group inside of my group. Like, come on. Like you sound like a big
Yeah.
baby. Just run it. You have a whole audience. You're helping somebody out. Like, so what if 10 people join another group because you posted a link to the other group, or something like that? If it's all for a good cause and a good member, like, let's be humans. Let's have some feelings.
Oh
And
yeah.
I have heavy feelings for groups that don't want to work, together. Like, if we all want to run things separately, cool. But let's respect our time frames. Let's respect the day we're going to do them. If not, then, like, if you're going to run at the same time that I already planned to run, why not work together? If
Yeah.
not, you just clearly drawing a line in the sand, and like, okay, well, not a friend group to ours. So
Right. And it's been shown that it can work. I mean, obviously, we have data points. So
yeah, members. I mean, like, those big groups, those are just numbers. At the end of the day, it's just a volume of people. How many are actually truly active?
right.
It's there's so much more that goes into it. Sometimes you have to peel back the layers and realize, look at the top down and realize we're all humans and we need to help and support each other. You know, these groups aren't, putting us in Beverly Hills or anything like that. We
Right.
still go to my job every single day, still have my family, and still have my brothers that I found through Facebook. We talk
Right.
every single day. It's just so much more importance. It just even goes outside of cards.
I dig it. So where do you see the collective in the next 2 or 3 years?
Whew. Uh, like I said, I'll never put a target number. Like, it's nice to have a lot of members and all, but quality over quantity. So, like, I don't really have like a target for that. Whether we're at 5K still, or we're at 50K, like, it's just one of those things I've never really cared about. As long as we have like an active group, everything's getting taken care of, things like that, and we have a good vibe. Where I see us, like we're definitely going to start, want to get into podcasts, want to get into TikTok videos, get some content out there. I want to have presence at shows, card shows. I want to start changing the game in card shows because every card show I go to, it's like you can't even really go there to buy cards if you have any knowledge in cards, or unless you have a friend with a booth set up, because
Yep.
everybody's pricing shit at 200% of comps. Like you can sit there at a card show and hand out freebies to kids, but I'm going to look at your $200 card with a $400 sticker on it and say, like, yeah, you may be nice, but you're still an asshole because you're going to rip somebody off with this card. Like,
Absolutely.
now I'll go to card shows and I'll literally offer 100% of comps. I won't even lowball anybody, and they'll make it seem like it's the toughest decision of their life, or they'll look at me like I just lowballed them and tried to get it for 50 cents. Like it's insane.
Oh, do you know how much it cost me to put this in a box and then rent
Yeah.
this booth? Like, dude, not 200%. Get out of
Right,
here.
right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I get you got to make money and all, but
Yeah.
if you have 8 tables, it's like, did you really need that many tables? Why don't you just, get a couple of tables and price your cards like like a good person?
Yeah,
I
for
get
sure.
card shops and stuff. They have rent to pay and all. Like, it's a
Yeah.
tricky topic for sure. Like, I'd certainly get it, but like card shows, just thinking back to when I was little and all, like, like if we had, I didn't have any card shows around. I don't remember going to them, but that's a lot of kids and just new hobby members' first time into the hobby is, oh, there's a card show and memorabilia convention. I don't have nothing to do. Let me go there. And then they get into it from there.
Yep.
But, like I don't want new members of the hobby, their first experience being, buying a $400 card and they go and put it on eBay and they get 200 bucks.
Yeah.
Like everybody, there's a learning curve. Everybody's got to start somewhere. And I just don't think the best place to start is at booths charging you 150, 200% of comps. I just don't.
Man, you
So,
are right. You are
yeah.
very right on that.
Yeah,
Damn.
it's a pet peeve of mine. Like I love going look at cards at the shows and all, but it's just like
Yeah.
I can just go home, or I can just line a card. Like I don't have to buy this card. Like, what's the point of me buying this card unless it's like a PC card I can't find?
Right.
It's a low pop, it's a hard to find card. Like, why am I going to pay over comps when I can just go to any platform now and buy it with Venmo, Cash App, and have it shipped to my door?
Yeah. Like Rich and I were talking about, we got a card show every single night on Facebook. Every
Mm-hmm.
night. I don't need to go anywhere.
Really is. And you'll still have the people trying to, I guess, price over comps. But on Facebook, you'll have those people that are more receptive to comps. Like, they understand they post and that someone's going to negotiate if you're way over comps. And, you're going to either meet in the middle, or you're not going to make a deal, or something's going to happen. But, at card shows, it's almost like some of these people, it's like, it's a mix of the old heads and the new heads. You know what I mean? So you got the
Hmm.
old school guys that, like they used to go by, literally go by the book. Then you have the new school guys that are sitting there on card ladder and, like 130 and stuff like
Yep.
that. And it's just like, they don't want to hear it sometimes. A lot of those, older guys, just the ones that don't deal with comps, they don't want nothing to do with comps, and then you
Yeah.
get to the comp conversation, which I do not want to get into. But
Right, for sure.
I think it's one of those double-edged swords.
It is.
It really is.
At least though, I think when you're building community, those conversations between the buyer and the seller are easier because we have a relationship with people in your group. So it's just less to, I don't know. I just think there's more of a give and take
Yeah, yeah, there
personally.
definitely is. Like at a card show, no one's gonna run up to me because I have if I'm at a local card show in New Orleans and I'm wearing a Saints jersey, nobody's gonna run up to me and say, "Dude, I'll give you a really good deal on this. Like, here's some Saints cards." Well, on Facebook, I have hundreds of people that are gonna PM me if they see a nice card. They know I'm gonna collect. They know it's like the player I collect or the team I collect. And if they own it, they're gonna, they're usually at least gonna give it to me for comps.
Yeah.
Like, I've never had somebody try to sell it to me for more than comps, like if it's a buddy of mine. So it's just like, I would much rather deal with that, and I would much rather support the people that support me than to just buy from somebody at a card show that I have no relationship with. Now,
Right. I
now don't
dig
get
it.
me wrong, I will buy at a card show, but if I had to pick, like, like it's nice to have card shows to look forward to and to go check out the stuff and all. But like if you actually want to, buy, sell, and trade cards, like I'm all about Facebook, especially if you know the person.
Yeah, I agree. Right on. All right. So we've been on for a little bit, but I do have one more question. I'm very curious. I'm hoping the answer is going to be what I think, but I'll wait to tell you what I thought at the end. If you
All
could
right.
rip a box with any athlete or celebrity, dead or alive, past or present, whoever, who would it be?
Can I give you two?
Yeah, sure.
All right. The first one, Drew Brees, hands down. Got to rip a box with Drew Brees, all-time idol, just favorite person. Just a go-getter, against all odds type of guy. Great guy in the community.
Very undervalued player, also.
Undervalued, undersized. He's not your freak athlete. But he's an athlete. Like you ever seen him play pickleball, you'll know that. Like, and I'm sure he probably plays golf or tennis too pretty well. Like it's just funny, because he's not a guy that's running like a 4-4 or anything. Like it's Peyton Manning.
Right.
Quarterbacks nowadays, you got to be able to move out the pocket. You got to be agile. You got to be able to throw in the run. It's just that pocket presence is kind of going away. So definitely shout out to my guy Drew. That would be a dream. But the other one I'd have to say, I'd have to go, like if I had two, it'd be Ric Flair. Just because
Oh,
imagine opening
whoa.
like a pack and just like getting a hit, and he actually knows like, oh, it's a hit, and just woo,
Yes,
like,
dude.
you know what I
That
mean?
would be
That
awesome.
would just be iconic. Like that would be my favorite. Like I would have to record it, and it'd be my favorite video in the whole entire world.
Dude, that'd be
Like,
crazy. If I was a famous athlete, I would rip all the time. I'd be all over it,
oh
like
yeah,
it'd be so much fun. I see. I thought you were gonna say Drew Brees. That was my guess.
oh that's my go-to. But if I
But
had to
but
do one for, if I had to do one for the hobby, for the community, for the collective, give me Ric Flair.
I
But like
dig it.
personally, like I'm going Drew Brees.
I thought you were gonna say Drew Brees in a Chargers uniform, though.
No, no, absolutely not. Y'all,
It-
man, y'all. I don't know what happened. He probably faked that shoulder injury just to get out of there.
get out of here.
He
That's
probably
where I'm from. So I'm a Chargers fan,
Yeah, no,
and
I have nothing against the chart. Nothing bad on the chart. I actually
no,
like their. I like the powder blues and all. Like I don't mind them.
I
AFC teams, I don't really have that much of a grudge against.
that the Saints. I mean, I liked them for the Drew Brees years because I love Drew Brees.
I had something to look forward to.
Yeah,
We
for
had
sure.
something to go watch.
Oh
I
yeah.
went to the last. I told y'all we have season tickets. Went to the last game with my pops. Sat down, and when I tell you half the stadium was red, I was sick, man. Like we played the Niners, the whole stadium. It was just bad. Bad play for the Saints happened, and it was louder than if a good play happened for the Saints. Never seen it like that. Miss Drew Brees so much. It's like those are the times you really just kind of reminisce, even though it was only just a short few years ago. But you know,
Yeah.
'09 Super Bowl run was quite a while ago. It was in
Oh yeah.
freshman in high school, so definitely memories now. Missed the
For
guy a
sure.
lot. So
Well, Glenn, I know you are busy as can be, man. I just want to say thank you so much for doing this with me, taking some time out, and then also allowing me to be part of this conglomerate known as the Collective. And for you guys that haven't checked it out yet, I'll put the link down here, dude. Seriously, there aren't many groups, if any, like it. So please come check it out. And Glenn, is there anything else you want to tell everybody before we take off?
no, man. You kind of covered it in the last end, but I just want to thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your help. Thank you for being a member of the team. Thank you for all your support up until then. I do just want to say, like, we notice everyone in the collective. Like, no one goes unnoticed. Every member is noticed. Like we're not posting, flash posts or posts saying like, oh, do you want to flash a card? Drop it in the comments, because I'll take a good supporter and a good quality member, a loyal member, and I will run a piece of shit card before I go and just pick a very nice looking card that'll make the most money. So, I just want, everyone to know that, we just, we appreciate you, and you are noticed, even if it feels like you're not. I know in a lot of groups, you just look like a number. But here we know you by name. We see your name, like you claiming a few lines or a few flashes, you start going on our radar. We have an active queue. That's why we never have to post for people that want flashes, because we'll reach out to those who, really deserve it and who have been, cycling the money and cycling the support within our group. So just hats off to everybody, hats off to the team. Appreciate it. Thank you for letting me do this. Never done this before, but it was fun.
Dude, hell yeah. Hopefully we have a lot more. There will be a lot more
Yeah.
uh, collective stuff coming out. So you guys stay tuned. And again, man, I appreciate it, man. We'll see you, buddy.
All right, man. Take care.
Later.
Later, man.